Hi, everyone. Happy Monday morning. This is Carol Williams with Beyond the Soundbite, another Monday morning edition where we talk about all things U.S. immigration that have been going on in the past week or so, and some things that are lingering past a week that I think you still want to know about. So, you know me, I like to dive right on in. Excuse me. The first thing I want to remind y'all about and talk about just a little bit is that it is no longer necessary to show a negative COVID test prior to flying into the US. So, for some folks, that is super great news. The logistics of doing that were quite burdensome on some folks when they were traveling, especially folks traveling on vacation who didn't quite know where they could go to get those tests done. Um, but we have now seen where the COVID-19 test is no longer a requirement in order to travel into the United States. That said, the second thing I want to tell you about and really remind you of is that if you are applying for an immigration benefit, specifically a green card or anything that requires you to have a medical exam, the COVID-19 vaccination is still a requirement. That requirement has not gone away as of yet. So, if you are applying for a permanent resident benefit, otherwise known as a green card, or you're applying for, or you need to have an immigration medical exam done as part of your application, the COVID-19 vaccination will be a part of that medical panel that they will be looking for and part of that application. So, super easy to confuse the two. So I always want to talk about them together so that you don't get confused. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can drop a note in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer that for you. The next thing I want to talk about are our H-1B cap cases. So cap season is still happening. Applications are still being processed by the Immigration Service. What we have seen is a slowdown in some sort of glitch in the system at Vermont Service Center where they are taking a long time to get receipt notices out to people. So immigration has taken a look at that and they are actually transferring cases that are cap cases, H-1B cap cases from Vermont over to California. So if you haven't received a receipt notice yet, that is probably the reason why. They have let us know they are transferring cases. Two, they are not issuing transfer notices. Normally, when a case is transferred from one service center to the next, we receive a transfer notice. They've opted not to issue transfer notices this time. They will, however, they have indicated issue receipt notices once the application sort of lands where it's finally going to be processed. So in some cases, you have not received anything. It's like your case fell into a black hole. That is to be expected this particular cap season. So we are looking at cases that would ordinarily be processed in Vermont, some of which are being transferred out to the California Service Center. You will not receive a transfer notice, but you will receive a receipt notice ultimately from California. So if you're a little freaked out and you're not quite sure where your application is, that is probably what is happening. But again, if you need some assistance on that or you're not quite sure what's happening, feel free to give our office a call, 954 903 1337, or you are welcome to drop a note in the comments. We actually do look at those comments and we respond. So, probably the biggest thing I want to talk to y'all about this morning are the governmental priorities. Every so often, the government releases and tells us what their regulatory priorities are going to be. So, what issues they are thinking about digging into more and actually creating new regulations for us to follow. So we have those new priorities. I'm certainly not going to go through all of them. I think that would put you all right back to sleep on this Monday morning, and that is the last thing we need. So I'm going to pick some of the biggies, some of the highlights that I think you all will find interesting and that will potentially impact your business and your employees. So the first, and also you're planning. So the first one is the H-1B. Or the Immigration Service is looking at sort of redefining the employer-employee relationship and what that means. We had this redefined for us, gosh, several years ago now. And essentially, a lot of that is looking at, or at the time when they redefined it, was looking at whether or not someone could own their own business and use that business to sponsor themselves for an H-1B. The concern for the Immigration Service was that employer was essentially the same as the employee, that there was going to be no oversight over the employee, meaning the H-1B beneficiary. So that is potentially one of the things that they are indeed looking at, and they are looking to provide clarification on that. We are also sort of getting ready to see them look at clarifying for us when it is necessary to amend an H-1B application that has already been approved. Specifically looking at what sort of work location change would trigger a need to file an amended H-1B application. So that's what's coming down the pike for H-1Bs. So that's what we will be looking at as soon as I get more information on that. If there is a regulation, I will certainly let you all know via our Monday morning chats. The second thing we are looking at, which I'm going to say I told you so because I told you this issue was never going to go away. So the Department of Labor has officially said that they are indeed looking at a proposed rule, which will propose an increase in the prevailing wages used for H-1B and PERM application. So the PERM application leads to the green card, as we know. So under the prior White House administration, there was a rule that was put out that greatly increased the wages for H-1Bs and for PERMs. Department of Labor is over that particular function of those applications. That rule was taken back by the current White House administration. And I warned everybody, I warned y'all during our Monday morning chats that we would not see, that was not the end of the potential increase in the prevailing wages. And it is back. The Department of Labor takes their role very, very seriously when it comes to looking at wages. So they are going to revisit that. They will probably dust that rule off, revisit it, see what pieces of it they want to change and amend and tweak. And we will most likely see that new proposed rule come out in terms of raising the wages with respect to H-1B and PERM applications, raising those prevailing wages. We are also looking at a rule from DHS or USCIS that will look at the improved processing, sort of the improved internal processing when it comes to the adjustment of status applications. Not a whole lot of definition and sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, like real concrete statements around that. So I'm super curious to see what that will look like, what those hopefully real efficiencies will look like, and whether, and how much it will really bring down the processing times, because that is a question I get asked just about every day. How long will this take? So that is something that I will definitely keep my eye out for everyone and let you know here during our Monday morning chats. The I-9 rule. So we are looking at something that is already being processed through the system in terms of, not moving away from doing the I-9 verification in person. So that is listed as one of ICE's priorities. It's already working its way through the system. So hopefully we'll have that fairly soon. So when that drops, I will let y'all know what that says and the impact that I think it will have on the employers, and how you may need to tweak your current systems in your current internal systems that you have in place. And the last thing that we are seeing is that both DHS, which in this case would be USCIS, as well as the State Department, are looking to increase their fees. Again, this should not be a huge surprise. So we will certainly keep a lookout for that for you and let you know when and if we see that proposed rule drop, and let you know what some of those new proposed fees will look like. But both USCIS as well as Department of State, who are over the consulate, so it will primarily affect the consular fees, both are looking to increase their fees. And so that is what our current government agencies that touch immigration are looking at doing. And then I also wanted to provide y'all with just a quick reminder, and this is to our international students as well as our employers that often employ international students. There were 22 new fields of study added to the STEM approved list. So, if you are wondering whether or not your particular field was added to that list, or you are looking at coming to the US as an international student, if you are an employer and you are looking at hiring an international student who has, who is maybe just completed their studies, or, will complete their studies next year, there are 22 new STEM related fields. And so, STEM related fields, those individuals, when they graduate, have a longer time on optional practical training, which is the time that they spend in the US working for a US company after they graduate. So, those are the hot things that I think are going on that I think y'all really care about and want to know about from the past week or so in US immigration. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to either pop a note in the comment. I will definitely take a look at those and answer them there. Or you are welcome to call the office at 954-903-1337, and we are more than happy to help you. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and this has been another fabulous Beyond the Soundbite on this lovely Monday morning. Have a great Monday and a wonderful rest of your week.